What it is, y'all, it's your old boy Pilk, and I'm coming back today with more Danmachi. And really, by the time this video comes out, unfortunately, these banners will already be live. But a lot of you guys have asked about this. We need to discuss this. Now, a lot of you guys already know these Festa banners, when they drop, are some of the most important, biggest, baddest, best banners that we get in the game. Stats on these units tend to be way higher than stats on any other unit. In this case, Otaro is 5346 HP. That's like 500 or more greater than anybody else we've dropped that really just drops in the game aside from other Festa units. 2306 physical is insane. 1085. If that's not the highest endurance of the game, it's pretty darn close. And the real crazy part is these numbers actually can get even better when you do character point levels. And we'll talk about that towards the end of this video. Now, so stat-wise, these guys are really, really good. Really solid stats. But what do they do? And that's kind of the part that I think some people want to know in a little bit more detail. So we're going to cover each basically movement that these guys do, starting with skill 1 on Otaro. So skill 1 on Otaro is a foes plural, which means it's an AoE attack. Attacks everybody on the opponent's team, which really generally means he's a war game type unit. You could use him in Wrecker Buster, but he's more war game and, you know, other event type. Basically anyone when there's multiple foes, that's really who he's more targeted towards. Okay? Super Earth physical attacks. We're coming out of the gate with Super, which is the biggest modifier on these attacks, with Ultra Encounter Rate and Temporary Strength Boost. Now, Temporary Strength Boost isn't huge, but the thing about getting a strength boost on a regular attack, number one, you generally see that either on big single target attacks like skill 3 or on special attacks. You rarely, if ever, see that on an AoE attack like this. So that's really something special. That tells you he's hitting pretty hard. Now, it's not a percentage boost. It's not like some of the stuff we'll see here shortly. But it is just a moderate boost to the damage that you're already going to be outputting, even on top of being a Super Earth attack. So it's already a really hard-hitting attack. 40% stun literally means every single opponent on the team is essentially going to roll, let's say, the equivalent of a D4. And if it's, 4 or below, they get stunned. It's just safe for the sake of argument. Every single person on the opponent's team has a 40% chance of being stunned. That means statistically, you're going to stun at least one, if not two people every single time this attack goes off. Okay? Now, unless they have stun resistance, and that gets into its own thing, but let's say for the sake of argument, without stun resistance, that's essentially how that takes off. He will give himself physical resist, magic resist, and heal rate 60%. So that means that all physical attacks, all magic attacks are going to be resisted 60% going forward after this turn, or after he does, not even after this turn, after he does this attack. So the sooner he does this attack, which is where his agility comes in, which is not the greatest. 1276 is good agility. Very, very good agility. Not the highest agility. There will be faster units, but it's going to be a really, really, really early skill. The downside is because it is not a fast skill at the beginning, before it says Super Earth physical attack, normally it'll either say fast or slow or nothing. When it says nothing, it's like basically going to take, basically all the fast skills go off first, then the skills that don't say anything at all, and then the slow skills. So it fast skills, and then it goes in order of agility. These skills, which, just it's called a medium skills, which then go in order of agility, highest to lowest, and then slow skills that go in order of agility, highest to lowest. So in this case, he's definitely not going to be outspeeding anyone that has a fast skill, and he's not going to be outspeeding anyone that has, more than his amount of agility. So it's not the fastest skill out there. So they do have a chance to, hit you before this happens. But anything after this, for the next 6 turns, which in Wargame is like should be all of the fight, he's going to resist everything 60%. And he's going to heal as he hits. So basically when the hit happens, he's going to perform 60% of his HP healed. Okay? That's just simply how that's going to work. Now, 4 additional actions. Now, all these additional actions happen on the subsequent turn, which means the additional action here is not necessarily relevant until turn 2. Now, I'll read that off. Well, you know what? We'll talk about We'll talk about skill 2 real quick, because basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna use skill 1, then you're gonna use skill 2. Now, skill 2 is a self-fast. Remember, because it's fast, it's going to go off pretty quickly. 40% max of HP shield. So essentially, he's going to take 40% of his already existing HP and basically put that extra, like, whatever his current full 100% HP is, regardless of damage he sees received, he's going to take that and put 40% more in front of it. So let's say he has 1,000 HP, puts an extra 400 HP on the front. It's obviously going to be significantly more than that, but that's just a sake of argument. And remove physical resist, and magic resist, and AoE, and single target damage taken debuffs. So any damage debuffs, any debuffs that have been applied to him that, ensure that his physical and magic resistance are lower, or he takes extra single target or AoE damage, all of those are removed. So in essence, anything that's going to make him take extra damage aside from elemental stuff, all that's gone. All of that is gone. Now, it doesn't remove anything that reduces his strength or, like I said, his elemental damage, but, that is pretty significant. Self-strength, earth, attack damage, critical rate, and penetration rate plus 70%. That means everything after this turn is going to have that 70% applied to it. So it doesn't really apply for this turn 2, but if he does skill 2 on turn 3, which he probably should anyway, then this will basically be applied. Now, he also does a 40% seal, which just like with the stun, he has a 40% chance to seal everybody else on the team, which basically means they can't do any like skill 1, skill 2, skill 3 stuff. They have to use just basic attacks. Everything is locked down, so the only thing they can do is very basic attacks. Seal is a great way to just neuter your opponent. Now, here's the deal. We said on turn 1 that he's going to get 4 additional actions. Now, those 4 actions start taking place now. So those actions take place turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, and turn 5. So, on this turn, he's going to get that extra action, which is a foes plural, which means all opponents. Mid-earth physical attacks. Remember we said it's like there's low, mid, high, and super. This is mid, but earth physical attack with ultra penetration rate, skill damage 60% per self-strength buff skill. Now, essentially what that's going to do is that's going to say, okay, whatever his bonus would be for his strength, his elemental attack, and all that, he's going to add 60% to that per strength buff skill, which means it's going to be a total of 120% buff if you've got a strength buff on the adventure side and a strength buff on the assist side. So when you set up your assists, which he's already going to do the strength buff himself, when you set up your assists, you need to make sure your assists are doing strength buffs as well, so he gets the majority out of his damage. Pretty straightforward stuff, but if you don't have an assist that's boosting strength, which you should anyway, then you are running, you're not getting the maximum amount. The really crazy part is you don't normally see numbers of this high on AoE attacks. You see numbers this high on single target attacks, on like skill 3, or on like an SA that's on like a Wrecker Buster unit. This is a ridiculously insane hit. This means that even if you do skill 1 again, which is the superclass attack, this is going to hit not 60 times harder. Well, actually, well more than that. Probably like 100 times harder. Like, this is going to hit, not 100 times. Like, twice as hard. It is going to hit an insane amount harder. It is a really ridiculous attack. And the fact that it is the secondary attack, which means your primary attack goes off, then this happens immediately afterwards, is pretty daggum crazy. On top of that, he's going to give himself strength buff. He's going to give himself 30% HP steal. So that means every bit of damage he does to that opponent, he's going to take 30% of that damage and give it back to himself. It's pretty nuts. It is absolutely insane. And he'll afflict taunt for 1 turn, which basically means after he does this attack, anybody that he hits with it that doesn't have taunt resistance essentially can only use single target attacks and will generally taunt him, or will generally target him. So this is a ridiculous skill. Otarl is going to be a War Games absolute must-have. If you, I was talking to somebody in the comments earlier today, and I said if you're able to hit King 3, for the next 2 months, and in Record Buster top 1,000 for the next 2 months, you could probably clear 8,000 Iris doing dailies and all that. Just do all your dailies, hit King 3 in Wargame, hit top 1,000 Record Buster. You could probably clear 8,000 Iris a month easily, saving up for the anniversary. And that's not including, like, for me, obviously, I get so much more than that because I do the full course. And that's the monthly paid thing. It's like $50 a month. But the reality is there's so much available if you're actually able to get really decent War Games and Record Buster scores. It's so incredibly worthwhile. And this guy is basically a guarantee you're at least able to get to King 3, if not King 1. Assuming he's maxed limit broken. You really got to have him maxed out for that. So, very, very good unit. We haven't even gotten to his skill 3 yet. Skill 3 is a foe singular. It's a single target attack. Earth physical attack with alter penetration rate, which means he's just going to get, whenever you hit somebody, you ever see it like pop up, say, penetrate and critical, it's going to have a high chance of penetrating, which means it deactivates guard, essentially. Skill damage 120% per self strength buff. Remember we talked about that before? If you have a strength buff on the adventure side and the assist side, it becomes a 240% attack. And 30% HP steal, which once again, exactly the same thing. And afflict seal. That means that is 100% seal on whoever you hit. Now, once again, if they have seal resistance, it will take away from that. But assuming that they don't have seal resistance at all, it guarantees to seal that person. So, pretty wild stuff. Otarl is insane. His essay is an alter with physical attack with alter penetration rate. Skill damage, once again, 120%, just like with the skill 3. Per strength buff skill and 30% HP steal. So 30% of that damage comes back to him as health. Remove status buffs and afflict seal. So he's going to remove all of these status buffs on every person he hits. And he's going to afflict seal. It doesn't say here that that's AoE, but it should be. I guess I could check in game right now because it is live. Let's see. Gotcha details. Yeah, foes plural. So yes. So every single person that he hits is going to be afflicted with that. It's pretty nuts. Otarl is crazy. 45%, the passive skills are 45%. These are things you don't even have to activate. They just happen. 45% thunder resistance, counters and all regular attacks or earth attacks, which means they get that extra earth bonus. 35% strength, agility, and dex. Strength, endurance, agility, and dex. So top of all those numbers you see out there, add 35% just on his passive skill. 30% damage on critical, 30% damage on penetration. So if you ever see him say critical or penetration when he hits, each one of those is worth 30% extra damage. He is a worm killer, which means any worm type opponents, he's going to do 50% extra damage on. And if you max limit break him, you will get 25 more physical and magic resistance and 10% HP and MP regen per turn. So like I said, it pays to max limit break Otarl. If you guys have any questions about it, I know there's a lot of new players out there and there's a lot of information. Ask questions down below. I will do my best to answer them. I will absolutely do my best. Let's talk about Alan. Okay. Alan has 5266 HP. Once again, really high HP numbers. 2283 physical attack. Insane physical attack. Endurance is about on average, though. 760, maybe a little below average for the current line of units. 767. It's very good endurance, but it's not Otarl's level of endurance. In turn, his dex is 1058. And his agility, which affects his speed. So endurance basically affects like his defensive stats. Agility affects his speed, and dex kind of affects like critical penetration rates and things like that. So his speed stat is through the roof. Someone said he's the fastest unit by far. I don't know if that's necessarily true because we do have units that do have like percentage boosts on their agility. So accounting for those percentage boosts, yes, I think they are faster. But not accounting for those percentage boosts, strictly by the numbers, he's extremely speedy. Now, what does he do? Okay, skill 1 is a foes plural, so that means he's an AoE again. Fast, we're talking about fast skill. High thunder physical attack with ultra uncounter rate. Agility and thunder resist down 40%. So that means that thunder resistance on your opponent and their speed is going to be reduced by 40% as soon as he hits. Self, thunder attack damage, agility, guard rate, and slow resist plus 100%. That's a 100% boost to all of those stats. That's for 5 turns. And 3 additional actions. And remember, we talked about these additional actions happens on turn 2, 3, and 4. Since it's 3 actions, 2, 3, and 4. And then you'd have to buff it after that. Okay. 3 additional actions. Foes plural high thunder physical attack with ultra on guard rate. Skill damage 50%. So remember, if you have... that's on per agility, 50% per foe agility debuff. So you really, with this guy, want to run an assist that does a debuff, because remember, that attack will happen based on the adventure debuffs and the assist debuffs. So that could be 100% hit if you do that right. But you got to run an assist that debuffs agility. You know, an assist that says foes plural minus agility by whatever percentage, 20 whatever percent. Doesn't matter. It could be 5%. He's still going to hit like crazy. The thing is, it doesn't matter what agility debuff you're running on your opponent. It just matters that you have an agility debuff. So it could be the smallest one in general. Just having that agility debuff will still give him that extra 50%, the full 100% hit. So, yeah. It's pretty crazy. Okay? Self. Thunder. Okay, well, I think we got ahead of ourselves. Okay, no. I have perfect agility buff. And self thunder attack damage, agility and guard rate, and slow resist plus 100% for 5 turns. So he's going to buff himself again on thunder attack damage, agility, guard rate, and slow resist every single time this attack goes off. It's wild. This dude is insane. Skill 2 is a foes plural. Fast, super thunder physical attack with ultra penetration rate. Guard rate, counter rate, and heal rate are all down 50% for 4 turns. Self, strength, and penetration rate, remember we were talking about penetration rate before, plus 70% for 4 turns. Foes, plural, remove agility and physical resist buffs and HP regen. Interesting. So any agility, physical resistance buffs, and HP regens will be removed from your opponent. So that's interesting. Now, HP regen and heal are 2 very different things. HP regen is essentially a heal that happens at the end of a turn, but they are handled very differently in this game. So that's very specific. It will not remove Otaro's heal, because you kind of can't, because Otaro's heal happens every time he attacks. But heals can happen for multiple turns. But HP regen is something that's set up completely differently. So essentially, heal happens mid-turn whenever an attack happens. HP regen is like, okay, every unit that survived now gets a certain percentage. He removes that, which is pretty nuts. And then remember, after that happens, then he's going to do the extra action. So that thing we read, skill 1, that's the 3 additional actions, that's going to happen immediately after this effect. So it's pretty wild. His skill 3 is a 47 MP cost, foe singular, super thunder physical attack with ultra critical rate, skill damage 100% per self agility buff. And once again, we talked about you need to have an agility buff on yourself on the assist side too. So an adventure agility buff gives you 100%, an assist agility buff gives you 100%. You are now talking a sum total 200% damage just based on your agility buff. Pretty nuts. His SA is an Ultra Thunder physical attack with Ultra on guard rate. Skill damage, once again, 100% per self-agility buff. Same thing we talked about with skill 3. Self-strength, agility, penetration rate, and thunder attack damage plus 100% for 5 turns. That means all those stats are increased to 100% damage for 5 turns. That is nutty. It just means literally you get basically take whatever numbers you were producing before this and double it. 40% MP heal and 4 additional actions now. Instead of the 3, you're 4 additional actions. Foes plural high thunder, which I believe before was a mid. Physical attack with ultra on guard rate. Skill damage 70% per foe singular agility debuff. So that now becomes, instead of 60%, 70% hit. Instead of 120%, it's a 140% hit. It's wild that you're now getting that every single turn after the SA. And allies thunder attack damage, agility, guard rate, and slow resist plus 100%. This is that big skill that I said really changed the game for thunder units, because thunder units didn't have a lot of support on the thunder side. Most units now, or most not units, but most elements have a someone on their team that will give them 100 to 120% of that elemental damage. You know, Haruhime does 120%, or the light Haruhime, and even the wind Haruhime, do 120% strength and magic. But to really shine right now in the current, gameplay, you really need an elemental 100 to 120% boost. And he really brings this to the table. He is an absolute must for the Thunder team. Both these units are absolutely necessary. Passives on Bet. 45% water resistance. Counters are physical attack and extend status debuffs by 2 turns. So any for every person he hits with a counter, which he's going to counter a ton of times, because remember, every single person can hit him multiple times per turn. So every single time he counters, that means any debuff that's on your opponent gets extended. So let's say you do a physical, or so let's say you hit him with a strength down 40%. Okay? And it's got 2 turns left. After he hits him, it's now got 4 turns left. Hits him again, it's got 6 turns left. Every single time he hits, it's gonna increase that. So it's a really, really, really good passive skill. 35% strength, agility, and dex, 20% damage on critical and penetration, and once again, he's a worm killer, which means 50% more damage on all worms. If he's Maxima broken, he'll also get 45% damage reduction on guard. So if he guards something, he gets 45% damage reduction, which is nuts, and 20% damage on penetration. Both these units are completely busted. Now, I know there's also the other banners running, but I'm telling you guys right now, you do not necessarily want to hit those banners, except to maybe get a Hagni and Hedon. This is where we're going to talk a little bit about character points. So, this is the banner, obviously. And we're going to be hitting this on live stream here shortly. But if you go over here to character, and you go to your character list, there you go. Thank you. So, this character list is going to give you all of the people that you have acquired in game. So in this case, Haruhime is up here like max. Anybody that you use more often is going to have a ton of points here. So we've got like Eyes here, Finn. This is actually the Finn from the crossover event. It's not the same Finn. I use a ton of Lazar anymore, so he's really, really, really high level. You notice that I don't use as much. Case in point, Epimetheus. I use Aphrodite a lot, actually. We're used to, at least. Uranus is definitely somebody that I don't use at all. Same with Vesta. She used to be really good, but she's kind of fallen off the map. And as we get on here, we'll get into some of the older... well, actually, case in point, there's Hedon. He's one of the units that's on the rerun banner. And you'll notice that he's way down here. I don't use mine very often because he's not max limit broken. And I just don't really have much use for him anymore. But here's the deal. If we go in here to CP reward list, check this out. As I feed the make note, mine is currently level 28. Okay? So at level 3, you get 5 iris. Level 5, I get 5 more iris. 7, I get 5 more iris. Every odd number, I get a ton of iris. So if we actually add this up, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, this skips over here, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 iris. I think I did the math in there, right? There's a ton of iris that you could farm up here. I think is it 100 iris? Did I do this right? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40, yeah, 50, 60, yeah, it's about 100 iris per. So here's the deal. You could farm up 100 iris right here just by getting your unit up to level 28. Now, in fairness, you're not going to do level 28 right out of the gate, but you'll also notice that there are significant boosts here. So like agility +5, endurance +5, dex +5. So as you go through the ranks, your units will also level up quite a bit. Now, there are 3 different CP lists, and this is why I say it's important to get units as they drop. So when you have units like Hedon and Hegni, which are on the rerun banners that are over here, there we go. There's Hedon, there's Hegni. Now Freya and Alfric, they're kind of around. They've been there, done that. In fact, Freya, you probably already have the 2 and 3 star of. But Hedon and Hegni, and to a lesser extent Alfric, are pretty rare units. I think Hedon and Hegni specifically only have maybe one other unit in the game, if even that. So when you see them, it's not a bad opportunity to at least hit this once and go in there and try to get them. Just because then you can farm up that iris. Now, here's the thing. I have Bell here on the main page. If I click this little refresh button at the top, and I have eyes, and if I hit it again, I'll actually get Leafia. Now, for those of you that are new at the game, you might not have that available. So what you've got to do is you've got to unlock the stories for both Leafia and Eyes. Once you do that, you know, play, I think it's, I don't remember what level it is, level 30 or something like that, of Belle's story. Once you get that, I don't remember when it is, but once you complete enough of Belle's story, you'll unlock Eyes' story. Once you complete enough of Ives' story, you'll unlock Leafia's story. And as their stories unlock, you'll unlock them here in the in this page. If I go back over here to character list, now remember before the bars were all blue? Now with Leafia, the bars are all pink. And notice Haruhime, who was level 50 before, is now level 44. All these levels are different, though the rewards are roughly the same. 5 iris, 5 iris. So there is a phenomenal amount of iris that you could farm up really quickly just by getting a unique unit, even if it's a unit you're not going to use. Sometimes it pays, and that's why I say one and done on those banners is not a bad thing. If you kind of want to see the difference too in stats, let's look at our Haruhime. So if I actually go over here to, let's just sort this out, make this easy, and we'll grab the light Haruhime, the new light Haruhime. Okay. Fully max limit broken. Okay, well, so mine, let's see. Let's go to status board. Yeah. So mine is 43, 76 HP. It's really high HP. Magic is 2219. But if we go down here to the album, and we'll actually do this again right here. And we'll max limit break her and max ascend her. 4046 and 2021. Significant boosts just by completing all those. And she's not even done. She's not even fully maxed out. So not only do you get free iris, you also level these units up quite a bit. So a lot of you that are new at the game probably have not paid much attention to CP levels. You do need to pay attention to that. I can cover that in a little more detail, and I have quite a few times on the channel. But if you guys need a little refresher on that, let me know in the comments down below. But for now, you guys need to be hitting this banner. This banner is insanely worth. We're going to do this live on stream. Like, comment, share. Hopefully I'll see you guys on the live stream, and I'll catch you guys either way on the next Damachi video.